And now a word on Berry Tramel's real top 10 rankings after the bumper.
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel?
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always OU related, college football related, sports related. We have a good time. And today, Berry Tramel wrote a column revealing his top 10 as he sees it. I need to unpack a couple things here. One, it's the rankings. It's the poll. And yes, we can all agree or disagree. And many of you might know or might not know, I count Berry as a friend, and he helped me get my start as a professional in this job. That said, how he came to his rankings, we're going to get to that. But for people that didn't get to this, Paul Feinbaum had Berry Tramel on to basically talk about his real top 10 in his show. Earlier that morning, he published a column or a blog, depending on how you want to look at it, ranking his top 10 as he saw it. And he asked a very simple question for how he ranked his team. I'm going to read really how he ranked them, but also what I find most interesting about this is the one-liners he's got in here, man. This is columnist stuff at its best, and I'm going to get to that. But he asked 3 questions. Who have you played? Where have you played? And how did you do? Right? So he's got Auburn at number 1, claiming that if Auburn goes 11-1, it deserves serious consideration for a playoff berth, even without an SEC West Division title, because they will have beaten up on a bunch of people that we all think are pretty good, like Oregon and A&M at Kyle Field. He's putting a lot of weight on that win against A&M away from home, even though Auburn's offense ranks like 7th in the country and like 30th in defense, but, you know, whatever. And then he keeps getting there. Like LSU at 2, I don't really have a problem with that. The victory at Texas, he thinks, is still the most significant and the most impressive of anybody who has played to this point. LSU going into Texas, getting a W, as we know. All right, fine. He's got Cal at number 3. Okay, saying what I said, which is there's no justification for the Golden State Bears, to be at 23 behind Washington because they beat Washington. And as he said, wherever you rank them ahead of Washington or get "I am stupid" tattooed on your forehead. Your choice. All right, cool. Clemson at 4, for which, all right, fine. I guess that's exactly not a problem because the committee does not have the guts to take an 11-1 or 12-1 team that played a loaded schedule over a 13-0 Clemson that spent most of the autumn cakewalking. Yes, this is based on what they did this year versus last year, according to him, but last year they had a cakewalk schedule, and last year they thumped both Notre Dame and Alabama in the playoff. And this is kind of getting to my point about what we think and what we believe about the rankings. Georgia at 4. He's claiming that it would have been a much more impressive win over Notre Dame if they'd have routed them, to which we all say, duh, but that didn't happen. It's, again, what we think about Georgia and why we think it. Now, Wisconsin at 6, Georgia at 5, and then Florida at 4. Okay, we feel about Florida the way we feel about Auburn, like we don't really trust them, and I'm getting to that. Iowa at 8, which, what? You're putting a lot of stock into this victory over Iowa State, and the Big Ten West is loaded, but, you know, whatever. I think I skipped Wisconsin in here. I couldn't have, right? No, I didn't. Yes, I did. 6, Wisconsin. My goodness. Take the Badgers, for example. Wisconsin jumped out on Michigan 35-0 before winning 35-14. Seems like a one-sided verdict. Was more about Michigan than it was about Wisconsin. All right, that also speaks to how we feel about Michigan. Kansas State at 10, Southern Cal at 9. Southern Cal at 9. Okay, but we can forgive SC's loss at Brigham Young. No, we can't, considering the Trojans have 3 solid wins against Fresno State, Stanford, and Utah. All right, these are all about what you perceive to be a good team versus what we think is a good team versus what is a good team. And what is a good team is negotiable because, well, in college football, we don't play everybody. There are 130 teams and not all of them play each other. It gets back into the strength of schedule thing. It doesn't help you to have a strong schedule. We would love to see one, and we want to rank you based on how you played against your opponents in that year and how many of them were ranked or not ranked and how many wins you got on the road versus at home. And we would like to see you, more than anything else, go undefeated. But if you put a bunch of cupcakes up in front of you, like Baylor did a few years back, and you go, let's say, with one loss, you're not going to make the playoff because we're going to perceive you as not as good as somebody else who might have played a tougher schedule that has the same amount of losses. See Oklahoma and Ohio State last year. Ohio State got thumped by Purdue by 28. Oklahoma lost by 3 points to a ranked Texas team and then beat that team in the Big 12 championship. It was the one time that the way that the round robin schedule works and having to play again in the Big 12 title game actually helped a Big 12 team get into the playoff. But that's kind of the point here, right? Barry's rankings are going to be Barry's rankings, just like your rankings are going to be your rankings, and we're all going to have some sort of groupthink going on about what we think about Clemson, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, and so forth, because the SEC is perceived as the best conference in college football, and rightfully so. But what this gets back to is a matter of opinion that cannot actually be walked out because we don't play a real playoff. Because we put 4 teams based on voting into what we call a playoff, and it's garbage, right? It's been garbage since the beginning. The fact that we could have several national champions is ridiculous. There should only be one national champion, just like there should only be one number 1 ranking, one number 10 ranking, so forth, so on. And the coaches poll has been full of bias and non-intellectual thought for a very long time. So while, yeah, Barry's wrong, but you can't prove that you're right either. That's kind of the point. Everybody's wrong until we have a real national championship in which we have 16 to 24 teams in the playoff. Everybody that should get in does get in. But since we're not going to have that, we're going to have columns like this where we're going to do this thing where we get blown out of proportion and we say, hey, look, your rankings suck. My rankings are more important. My rankings are better. Yeah, okay, whatever. The predictive models are supposed to help with this, but it doesn't really, because we all have our opinions about who played whom. And what I'm finding out most about college football is that there's only a few of you that watch everybody. I watch everybody because I love college football and I want to watch college football, and I only get this amount of time to watch it. But for the most part, you're an OU fan, and you watch Oklahoma, and you watch some Big 12 teams. You're not watching Pac-12 after dark. You didn't go back and watch UCLA versus Washington State. You probably didn't go back and watch Cal beat Washington and how that happened. You cannot tell me who the leading rusher was in that without looking up statistics, and you can't even tell me how they won. So as far as I'm concerned, there's only like a handful of people that are actually qualified to have an opinion about this because they can build an argument on their opinion. But since I could build a really good argument on my opinion and not have seen everybody, or have seen everybody lose, or have seen everybody win, or not seen everybody in a playoff, it's all whimsy, wazi, fugazi. It's fairy dust. Wolf of Wall Street, stand up. All right, that's it for me. Deuces.